We're going to do some of our best CW favorites of 2022. I feel like this list should not be shocking to anyone who's been listening to the pod.
No.
But when it comes to best CW show of 2022, we have a tie between Stargirl and Walker Independence.
I'll take the Stargirl part then. Um, uh, I feel like this show has been so consistent and such a consistent performer that the fact that its third season was brilliant wasn't a shock to anyone. But the fact that it managed to stand out among the rest of its seasons and the shows that were on really just highlight how great it was. I think the worst part about its cancellation was the fact that it's just the end of the road for Stargirl when it was literally in its heyday, when it was consistently performing strong. So I just think that's a testament to the show. The show never fails. It's so entertaining, it's so lively, and there is a lot of high standard quality superhero programming out there, and this show consistently earns its place at the top of that list, and season 3 was no different. So I think if you're going to go out, you can go out like that, and Stargirl has absolutely everything to be proud of, and I just wanted to honor it one last time, basically because we probably can't next year. So yeah, yay Stargirl, what a way to go out and what a season to close with. I'm very proud to be a fan of it.
Walker Independence is also best new show of 2022. As you can tell, we're stans. It's just a really, for a show that hasn't even completed its first season, it has consistently brought something to the table every episode that is intriguing and fascinating. And we're part of this ride. It's so funny because when the reviews came out for like the first 3 or so episodes, we were like, what more can you do with a woman who wants revenge for her husband's murder? I was like, there's so much you can do. We're in the West, y'all. We're in the middle of the desert. There's so many different characters to fall in love with, and it's slowly introducing us to all of their backstories, and it cannot wait until next year when her Abby's sister comes to town and we learn more about Boston and what went down there.
I think Wendy was the biggest surprise for us all.
Mm-hmm.
Longtime listeners will know that we were very on the fence about Western on the CW. What is this going to look like? And hearing about the plot, like, this is ambitious. How are they going to pull this off? And then we saw that pilot screener, and I think we were all blown away in different ways because our expectations were managed. I don't want to say low, they were managed. And I think every week it continues to blow us away. It's just so beautiful the way that they photograph it, and the care that the actors take is fun, it's heavy, it's exciting. And we love the Winchesters too. Like, obviously that's the second runner up for best new show in 2022 on CW. But Wendy, I think, because of how surprised we were by it, like, she's just got to win.
Yeah. It's interesting though, and this was not planned, but that we have a show that's going out as the best show and a show that just arrived as the best show. It just feels like it's full circle, especially as we head to this new era for the CW, which also means that we're for Wendy, it's not necessarily new stars because that cast has a few CW folks on it. But for the Winchesters, it is a new ballgame, which is why we also want to give a shout out to Jake Roger for standout CW newcomer.
I love him, guys.
I was going to say, let Reed take this part.
I feel like I strong-armed this category in just because, like, I don't know, like, I mean, I knew from the beginning that, like, when you see an actor's headshot, you're like, oh, and that can either, like, intrigue you to watch because you see what the face of the character is going to be. But I hadn't seen him in anything before, and he's a legitimately great actor. Like, watching him perform as John is always really thrilling, and the things that he's gotten to do in these first 7 episodes is incredible. And he does have an incredible scene partner with Meg Donnelly, but I had seen her before, so I knew that she could, like, hold her own in a leading role, and that she's, like, charismatic. Like, I've seen her dance for her life in Zombies. I've seen her in American Housewife, like, cracking jokes. So I was like, I wasn't worried about her. And not that I was worried about Drake, but I was like, what is this gonna feel like? It's such a big role. It's a big universe to step into as a fresh face. And I think he just continues to kill it. And I can't wait to see what else he does. Like, he could be an action movie star if he wanted to. And I hope that he does, if he wants that, not to project. my desires onto him.
Well, we are manifesting Nightwing for him if
Yes,
DC
yes,
wants to call. Yes.
DC gets its acting gear.
Yes, yes. But as far as standout CW veterans, we've each picked a person. I'm going to start because if I can have an opportunity to gush about Javicia Leslie and what she did in Batwoman season 3, I'm going to do that. So I think we went into that season not realizing that was going to be the last. No one could have imagined that was what was going to happen. But I think Javicia gets a lot of praise for stepping in for season 2 and having to build an entire world around this character with the writers team and finding dynamics with the cast and how would this work, when Kate Kane isn't Batwoman anymore, who's Ryan Wilder. But I think that was a huge achievement. But for season 3, when that's no longer the obstacle, when you really have to step into the suit and, don the cape in a way that you hadn't before, I think that's even more speaks to her ability as an actor, because then it was all on her. We no longer have the shadow of Kate Kane. So Batwoman is who Javicia Leslie becomes. And we learn the story through season 3 as she navigates being incredibly awesome, but also incredibly vulnerable in this position where she's learning about her biological family and what does that mean and how does that work as she's contending with a brother who ends up becoming the Joker. So I just think that one of the things that's so great about superhero dramas is this balance of family and what it means to be a superhero. And I think she killed it along with the rest of the cast for season 3. I wish we didn't have to say goodbye to her in her own show, but I'm super happy that we will get to see her again in The Flash season 9 because they're bringing everybody apparently.
She was exquisite. I could not say that any better myself, but I just also wanted to add, you're right, season 2 was all about the show must go on, but season 3 was all about Ryan Wilder, and Javicia Leslie just absolutely shone in that role. By far my favorite season of the show as well. She was just exquisite, and I can't wait to see her in The Flash either. My favorite CW veteran, and we're in a similar predicament here because we have a third season that should not have been the final season, and then I of course want to pay tribute to Brack Bassinger because what she has accomplished on Stargirl has just been so out of this world. Stargirl, I've always said, is a very mature show, but at the end of the day, it is still about teenagers. So where is that balance there? Superman and Lois can do it, arguably balance it even better because you have adult stories and teenage stories. Stargirl has been all about teenage stories. So how do you balance that? And all you have to do is just look at Brack Bassinger's performance. The way she's brought Courtney Whitmore to life was just incredible, and just being able to connect with that character, see her annoying teenage tendencies before she figures them out, but also champion her to win this battle after that battle. There's such an authenticity but also a maturity to that character, and Brack just brought it to life from start through finish, right through to the end of the series. And she has such great chemistry with so many of the main actors on the show as well. And the thing I'm going to miss the most about Stargirl is her performance as Stargirl, which sounds really obvious to say, but I think it just feels like that is just a testament to what great work she did on the show. And even though it won't be the same, I can't wait to see her on Titans just to catch up with the character again and just to catch up with Brack. It was a wonderful performance. And again, if you're going to go out delivering a performance like that, excellent right through to the end.
I'm realizing that all 3 of our picks are actresses from shows that have ended or are ending.
No.
Because mine is, to probably no surprise to anybody, Kennedy McMahon from Nancy Drew, who this year has just been a total revelation for me. I know that I watched a brief chunk of Nancy Drew when it premiered, but I didn't realize she was doing all that in the rest of the episodes. We talk probably every week about Kennedy's performance. I don't know how else to say it. She's just so good. She becomes Nancy. She knows this character inside and out, and it's fun just to watch her perform, even in the heavier scenes, the choices she makes and I don't know, she's just so exciting to watch. And I'm sad we won't get to see her as Nancy for much longer, but we do have, at least for us, 2 more seasons.
That's true. Also manifesting a movie, she should want to do one. I just feel like they should do a Nancy movie. And then last but not least, and I guess this makes sense, again, unintentional to have actresses who have lost CW shows or will be stepping down from a role. CW shows we're sorry to say goodbye to in 2022 is next. It is not the whole list. We did.
It could have been.
We made a selection. First up is Dynasty.
I was obviously very sad to say goodbye to Dynasty. I know at the start of this podcast when we were talking about what could potentially be canceled or renewed, our initial ideas were very different than what they later became in May. So I remember at one point I was like, I just can't see this being the final season of Dynasty. Like I can't figure out the end game. But as soon as I saw it in this season and I had accepted that the show had been canceled, like it didn't leave me wanting more. I don't feel like I was cheated. It did feel a little rushed in hindsight, but I mean, that's just the nature of the game CW is playing. But it's still sad. It was the bright spot at the end of the week on Friday nights, and it really carved out a place for itself internationally. And I hope that in the future it becomes a cult classic, and the American audience that did not watch on the CW will somehow, rediscover it and see that it was a necessary bundle of crazy that we needed in this strange era of, the world.
We need Sophie Goodness.
Yes. I really feel like we all need that in our lives. And I feel like we also got plenty of that from the Arrowverse shows, particularly, I don't want to say the B Arrowverse shows. You when the Arrowverse was in its prime, you had like the likes of the Flash, Arrow, and Supergirl leading the charge, but there were always the secondary ones, which were arguably more entertaining, like Legends of Tomorrow or Batwoman. So the fact that you lost that entire like undercurrent of the Arrowverse, it's no surprise it caved in after that, because I feel like they were kind of like the foundations that were holding this universe together. And the fact that they were just like culled as well, there were so many layers to this universe, and now so many of them are gone. And sometimes it's the ones on the inside that matter more. We saw what the Flash was getting up to. We saw what Supergirl and Arrow were getting up to. It was nice sometimes to visit these less famous shows and see what the secondary characters were getting up to. And the thing I loved about like Legends of Tomorrow, for example, all these secondary Arrowverse characters never felt like secondary characters in their own show. They were all main characters, and it was such a bundle of joy. And Batwoman was to exploring new territories by using like an old example of like the Bat family to do that. And it was just, I feel like it was building this universe out. So I'm not surprised that the Arrowverse kind of caved in after those shows were gone. And of course, I'm going to just like take a second to talk about The Flash as well, because even though it hasn't ended yet, it was a revolutionary show for the CW. So it's weird to imagine that, yes, we'll have it next year, but after that, we won't. And where does this universe, where does this network go after that? I feel like the superheroes have kind of been keeping it afloat after that kind of like teen Gossip Girl, Vampire Diaries era ended. So what does the next era look like? We still have Superman and Lois for now. We will have Gotham Knights for now, and we will have The Flash for now. But like, it's hard to imagine that even in 2022, we still had it all for a little while, because this year has felt so long with every show we've had to say goodbye to. But it'll be sad to say goodbye to them or start a new year without them in it, because they've been such a regular part of the CW. But I hope, like Reed said, they become kind of cult classics. I feel like Legends of Tomorrow is already 3/4 of the way there. It's weird to have a show become a cult classic when it's still on the air, but I feel like its cancellation will somehow add to it becoming one of those infamous shows that should have ended better, and it deserves that. And even though Batwoman did kind of tell a complete story, there was still so much more story there to tell. So I just hope in years to come, these shows are held up for the kind of like beacons of hope and enjoyment that they were throughout their runs, because they didn't always get the praise they deserved. And I hope they live on forever and that someday we get a conclusion.
It's sad to say goodbye to these shows also, because it feels like the shows that got axed are also the ones that take themselves less seriously. Mm-hmm. So like the final CW show on our list is Tom Swift, which again, Sophie Goodness, at this time with a sci-fi fantasy bent to it. We thought we were getting an expansion to the Nancyverse, and apparently like the Juniverse is not expanding. In fact, she's sunsetting, which is strange, because when we saw the first trailer for Tom Swift, we were interested, right? And then we saw the show, and it is amazingly over the top. Should have been paired with Dynasty. There's just something about Tom Swift that is way too much and you have to find out what's happening with him and the rest of his crew, with Zenzi and Isaac, and him trying to get his dad back from Saturn. Was it Saturn?
Yeah.
And like these, this society that's trying to bring technology down. It was just a wild, wild ride for such a short season in comparative to other seasons on the CW. That also, as you would say, Reed, ended on a serve. It was a cliffhanger serve. And it makes you want to tune in more. I think if there is another cult classic, it would be Tom Swift. I think if you know about how it ends, you'd want to see how you even get there. That is one of the most shocking things the CW show has done. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it, but you should definitely watch Tom Swift. Get your entire life, enjoy the sci-fi, and scream at the TV when you get to that ending. And probably like strongly worded text, or not text, tweet to the CW about canceling it.
As shocking as it was to watch from the sidelines, the dismantling of the Arrowverse, like in like brick by brick, it was, I still have to say, it was really shocking that Tom Swift never aired at the same time as Nancy. Like not even in the same, like Nancy had already packed up and moved on from season 3 by the time Tom got here, and then he was already canceled by the time, I don't know, it was all stressful. But I do own Tom Swift on DVD, so I will be revisiting him